Rahmatullah wa barakatuh. All of the Sufis and most of Eastern thought talks about this world as illusory, this world as a temporary manifestation that we appear in for a period of time and then we disappear from. In order to truly understand who we are and who Allah is and our relationship with Allah, we have to understand the temporary nature of this body. We have to understand the temporary nature of this worldly existence. We have to understand the temporary nature of everything that we see, touch, feel, and hear. If we go to various parts of the world where they are doing archaeological digs, you'll see that there are layers of civilizations. There's a civilization on top of the ground, and as they dig down, there's a civilization from a few hundred years ago. If they dig down further, there's a civilization from a few hundred years before that. And if they dig down further, there could be even another civilization from a few hundred years before that. What does that indicate to you? That everything that was in control and everything that was on top disappears and is replaced, just as we disappear and are replaced. There is one constant that doesn't disappear and that isn't replaced, and that is Allah. Allah is permanent and eternal. Allah was, is, and will be. And Allah is our creator. And Allah is at the essence of all things. As we look at the world, Allah is directly behind everything that we see. Allah is intermingled with everything that we see, but we don't see the Creator because all we see is the creation. If we were able to see through the creation, if we were able to see the creation in a transparency, we would encounter the Creator. Are we cognizant of the fact that we are temporary and we will disappear just like everything that we see will disappear? In the middle of the conference of the birds by Farid Attar, there are various stories. One of them is about a gravedigger who has been digging graves for 40 or 50 years. And after a funeral, one of the people attending the funeral came up to him and asked him, is there anything that you've learned from all of these years that you've been doing this work? And he said, the one thing that I've learned is that I've been doing this for so long. I see the nature of life. I understand that everybody passes, yet I haven't done anything to change myself. I haven't done anything to begin to understand reality. I haven't done anything to begin to understand the truth. So, right there is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. The gravedigger knew he was burying bodies, and he had the knowledge that people die, and he knew that everyone disappears, but he didn't do anything about it. So, knowledge without action is simply knowledge without wisdom. Wisdom would be taking the next step to begin to do something about that which you finally understand, to do something about that which you've learned. So we need to understand what wisdom means and the difference between wisdom of knowledge. We can be very much fooled by our ability to recite facts, about our ability to recite the entire Quran, by our ability to repeat what has been said by holy men as if we knew something. Memorization, knowledge through memorization, is not the same as wisdom. Wisdom carries us, sustains us, maintains us, and comes from Allah. Knowledge comes from the world. It can also come from Allah, but until it becomes wisdom, there's no haq to it. There's no reality to it. So we need to make our knowledge become real in our being. And then, if that happens, we will be able to sustain ourselves through times of difficulty, through times that bring about pressure on us, bring about stress on us, bring about all of the various anxieties that the world brings about. When we understand that all that exists is Allah, and all that is important is our relationship with Allah and our ability to commune with Allah and to transfer His essence, which is already in us, into our consciousness and be able to be aware of that essence and be aware of those qualities, that's when we will begin to change. Now, all of us can sit here and say, God is merciful, God is compassionate, God is truth, God is love, God is kindness, God is justice, God is power. We can say all of these things. They fall off the tongue very easily. We can all pick up the Asmaul Husna, which is a little book that has the 99 names of God in it, and we can repeat the names of God, and then we can read the definitions of the names of God, and we can memorize the names and the definitions. And if somebody says, what does Al-Ahad mean? We can say it means the one. God is the one. But what does that mean for us? What's the understanding of that for us? How far have we gone beyond the dictionary? How far have we gone beyond repeating words that we've read and that we've learned? How much of us has become haq? Haq is one of the names of Allah, but it's also the Arabic word for reality, Allah's reality. And the question is, where are we on the scale of haq? Are we in the scale of illusion? Are we in the part of illusion in our attitude towards the world, or have we entered into haq? Have we become real. So as opposed to just being able to say Rahman and Rahim, as opposed to just being able to say Latif and Kabir, have we actually incorporated those qualities into our being so that when we are presented with situations that require mercy, mercy flows out of us automatically because we are so attuned to mercy. Compassion flows out of us automatically because we are so attuned to compassion. Graciousness comes from us automatically. Proper conduct comes from us automatically because we are attuned to proper conduct. Improper actions are the furthest things from our being. They're not anywhere near us because we have brought ourselves to the point of loving God. And in loving God, we love his qualities. And in loving his qualities, we become his qualities. And what happens is that when you portray God's qualities into the world, those qualities are returned to you. There's this huge circular pattern going on at all times. We put out, and what we put out is what comes back to us. If you are gracious, the world will be gracious to you. If you are kind, the world will be kind to you. If you are loving, the world will be loving to you. We have to learn to be accepting of what's given to us from Allah. And as we learn to accept, then we begin to see the truth in all things. There was a monastery, and a farmer came to the door of the monastery and began to knock on the door very loudly. And a monk opened the door, and the farmer recognized him, and he said, "How are you?" And the monk said, "Thank God, and how are you?" And the farmer said, "Thank God, we've had a very successful crop, and I have brought you the most beautiful grapes that we've grown this summer. This is the best of my crop, and I brought it for you as a token of my appreciation for everything that you've always done for me." And the monk who opened the door said, "Well, thank you very much. I will immediately take it and give it to the abbot," the head of the monastery. And the farmer said, "I didn't bring it for the abbot. I brought it for you, because every time I knocked on the door, you opened it, and you always had a kind word for me. And when I was hungry and our crop wasn't good, you always had food for me. You always took care of me somehow. So I thought I would bring these to you as a token of my appreciation for everything you've done for me." And the monk said, "Thank you very much." And the farmer left, and the monk closed the door and immediately took the grapes to the abbot, because the abbot had been very helpful in his life. The abbot was always kind to him and always had a good word for him. So he gave the grapes to the abbot. And the abbot said, "These are most beautiful grapes, the most beautiful grapes I've ever seen." And the monk left, and the abbot thought, there's a sick monk here. I should give them to him. Maybe they'll help revive him. Maybe it'll bring back his spirit. So he brought the grapes to the sick monk, and the monk thanked the abbot, and the monk looked at them, and he said, "My God, they're so beautiful. I should give them to the cook. The cook has been providing me with all of the best food and keeping me alive and trying to make me healthy again. I'm sure he would know how best to use these grapes. So when the cook came in with the lunchtime meal, the sick monk gave the grapes to the cook. And the cook took them back to the kitchen, showed them to his assistant, and said, "These are really beautiful grapes. We should give them to the one who holds the station of priest in this monastery, the one who does the benedictions and the one who performs the ritual services." So he brought them to the one they called the priest. And the priest thanked the cook and looked at them. And he said, "My God, they're such beautiful grapes." And he said, "I'm going to give them to the youngest novice in the monastery because maybe it'll lift his spirit and he'll understand the mercy of God." And he brought the grapes to the novice, and the novice thanked him very much. And the novice looked at these beautiful grapes and appreciated them and felt elevated because of being given this great gift. And he said, "You know, I have to give these grapes to the monk who opened the door for me when I first came here." And he brought the grapes to the monk who had originally let him in. It was his kindness that welcomed him into the monastery and into this life of holiness. What goes around comes around. And as we go around, as we give unto the world, that is how the world will give unto us. Now, it may not come when we expect it to come, and it may not come when we expect it to come. But Allah has promised us mercy, and Allah has promised us compassion, and Allah delivers on his promises. What we need is patience, one of the qualities of God. We have to be able to wait for what is coming for us. And we have to believe that what is coming for us is the best of all possible things, because that's what Allah has. Allah created the 18,000 universes and created this world and created man. But what Allah loves is man. And what Allah expects back from man is to love him. Man was created to know Allah because Allah wanted to be known. So we should understand that when we love Allah, Allah is loving us, and Allah is bringing us towards him, not necessarily because of what we do, but because of his love for us. So Allah institutes this entire scenario. We go along with it through our love. Our love continues to bring Allah closer to us, and then Allah decides to bring us to him. Now, as we deal with this illusory world, as we deal with all of the difficulties that we have in this world, and as we deal with the mind that is constantly creating difficulties that are based on needs and desires that we think we have, as this goes on, we get thrown off our path. We get thrown off our relationship with the truth. We sometimes lose our way. But we have to be conscious of the fact that Allah is constantly with us. He is always there and always near us. We just can't see him. However, that nearness is so close that the saints say It's closer than your own jugular vein. It's right there with you. You have to believe it, and you have to give credence to that idea. You can't let go of the fact that he's with you. Difficulty happens when our desires for this illusory world and for the things in this illusory world become greater than our attachment to and our desire for Allah. And they begin to create veils between ourselves and Allah. And as these veils grow, the distance in our imagination between ourselves and Allah grows, because we are now concentrated on the treasures that we desire within the illusory world. And as we desire the treasures within the illusory world, we lose sight of the great treasure that is available to us. Allah loves mankind so much that he gives of himself to man. Allah is Rahman and Rahim, mercy and compassion. And he allows man to be merciful and compassionate. Now, if we can truly feel mercy and compassion anywhere near the level that Allah feels it, a transcendence occurs within us. We change, we become different, we somehow enter into a different space. And what is this space? This is the space that we call Haq. This is the space that we call reality. This is the space that is outside of the space of this illusory world. It's like walking in a compartment separate from the illusory world. The illusory world can no longer affect us, bring us into difficulty, and make our life hard, because we have put ourselves under Allah's protection. We have put ourselves under Allah's guidance. We have put ourselves into Allah's realm. So you have the realm of the world and you have the realm of God. Our attachments go in opposite directions. Either they go towards the realm of the world or they go towards the realm of God. And if we can slow down enough, if we can become still enough, if we can become quiet enough internally to concentrate on the realm of God and the qualities of God, and concentrate on integrating those qualities into our being, we can become constantly in a state of peace. Never forget that peace is one of the names of God. Salam is one of the names of God. So if we are to be peaceful internally, we have to be concentrated on God. We have to be in a state where we are content with God and allow God to penetrate our being, and we let go of our attachments to the world. The world is like a speeding car. If you're going 120 miles an hour, it's very hard to notice anything except you're driving. And your driving consumes you. And there's this rush, this thrill, this adrenaline from driving that fast and from rushing through the world. Well, we can't rush towards God. God is in a still, quiet place inside of us. We have to get out of this car that's rushing through the world and sit still. And then we can find out that wherever it is that we're sitting, God is there. Wherever it is that we're sitting, we're in the middle of creation. We're in the middle of the universe. We're in the middle of all that is, because we are with God. And since God is everywhere, anytime you're with Him, you're in the middle of all of existence. You're in the middle of all of reality. We have to make this move for ourselves to bring ourselves into that place where God exists. And we don't have to travel anywhere to do it. Wherever we are can be that place. Wherever we've landed can be that place. Whatever is going on around us, it's still that place. So we have to take in the knowledge that we learn from the scriptures, that we learn from the holy books, that we learn from the holy men who brought these holy books, and from the helpers that God has sent into this world to make us aware of what is real. Now, qualities have no elemental substance to them, but they are more real than anything that has elemental substance in them, because God has no form. So God is not made up of elemental substances, but God is the ultimate reality. God is that which is eternal. Everything that has elemental substance to it is subject to decay and subject to disappearing. So what we see disappears. What we see is not real. What we see is illusion. But what we don't see is reality. And to break through to that understanding takes, at first, an enormous amount of faith that that which we cannot see is more real than that which we can see. That that which we cannot see is what is eternal. Now, we can't see light, but light allows us to see everything that we do see. Everything that we see is a reflection off things that goes into our eyes, bounces into our retina, and somehow makes images in our mind. But we can't see the light itself. But we know when there's no light because it's dark and we can't see anything. When light enters into the equation, all of a sudden we can see. So we have to be able to see the difference between illusion and reality. We have to take our knowledge and turn it into wisdom by integrating ourselves with reality and with the understandings within reality. And this requires learning, and it also requires examples. Man needs to be able to see with his eyes before he can believe with his heart. At least that's the situation for most men. And that's why God has sent his friends who come into this world looking like men, but actually they're more than that. They are manifestations in a physical form of his qualities. And you see his qualities through these manifestations You see these qualities through the actions of the men who carry his qualities into the world and who work on his behalf. And through seeing this, they become a mirror for yourself so that you can also have these qualities. My teacher, Muhammad Rahim Bawa Muhaiyaddeen, would say to us often, become like me. So what he was saying is that I have reached a certain level of existence within reality. Your job is to also reach that level of existence within reality. Your work is to transform yourself into a manifestation of God's qualities. So even though we are temporary and illusory, we are, if we could see through ourselves in our transparency, we should become that which Allah is, which is his qualities. We should become mercy and compassion and kindness. And this is shown in how we act as we go through the world. And as we go through the world, the way we act is the way we will be acted upon. Someone said to me once, I find nobody loves me. And my response was, become more lovable and become more loving. And that's what we have to do. We can always be more merciful. We can also always be more kind. We can always be more compassionate. We can always be more of God's qualities. We can't look outside of ourselves to find reactions to us in order to trigger us. This only comes from sheikhs. This only comes from men whose purpose is to do that. For the most part, we have to look inside of ourselves and discover that part of ourselves that is kind and loving, and also understand that part of ourselves that isn't. The prophet, when he was a baby, there are reports that men came, probably angels, and cut his chest open, took his heart out and cleansed it, and then put it back inside of him. We need to do a cleansing of our own heart. We need to do a cleansing of our own mind. We need to do a cleansing of our own attitudes. We need to bring ourselves to that place where our attachment to the world becomes lessened and lessened and lessened, and our attachment to God becomes greater and greater and greater. The problem with attachments to worldly things is they drag you around. It's like a fish hook. Once the fish is attached to the hook, the fish is subject to wherever that hook is going. And so if the fisherman is reeling in that hook, the fish is going right along with it. So these things in the world that we attach ourselves to, that we desire, they take us in that direction. I once, when I was in college, wanted a motorcycle. Well, I got it. And the direction the motorcycle took me was a terrible accident. And 2 cars hit me while I was sitting still. And fortunately, I didn't break anything, but I had a bruise on the inside of my thigh that was about 24 inches long. And I couldn't walk for 3 weeks. But that came from wanting a motorcycle. It's like that with most things. They have within them The desires something that will explode on you, something that will take you in a place where you don't want to be. I learned my lesson with motorcycles and never got on one again. But the point is that if I hadn't desired the motorcycle, I wouldn't have gotten into the situation that I got myself into. Desires take you to places where you don't necessarily want to go, nor do you even know you're going to go there. That's the danger of desires. They don't appear to be what they truly are. The only truth in creation is through God's qualities. Mercy takes you towards mercy. Compassion takes you towards compassion. Contentment takes you towards contentment. Peace takes you towards peace. We have to develop a natural affinity towards those things. We have to become ones who gravitate towards Allah's qualities as opposed to gravitating towards the world. It is said, and it was said by my teacher, that he had the ability to transfer to others that which came to him. He could transfer that manifestation of God's qualities to others so that others could manifest that quality themselves. Well, this is the work that we need to do, and we need to do it steady. Now, it's not a simple thing to accomplish, and it takes determination, certitude, and concentration. It takes all of these things to be able to do what's right. But we need to know the knowledge of what's right, and then we need to put what's right into action, and then we need to integrate those qualities within us so that they are not fleeting, so that we don't have them for a few minutes and they go away for a few minutes, or they go away for a few days, or God forbid they go away for a few years. Satan doesn't have to get you to do horrendous things. He just needs to plant doubt in you and have a conversation about doubt. Once you have the conversation, you're too busy in the conversation to be focused on reality, to be focused on God. So we have to understand that focus that we need to create for ourselves. And as we create that focus, as we become closer to the truth, our lives become easier. And once we have found that we can be there, even for an instant, we have to learn how to be there for longer periods of time. We have to learn to take things from states to stations, from being there for a little while to be able to be there consistently. Never forget that Allah is everywhere. We can't move without Him being near us. We can't move without Him interacting with us. We have to believe that. We are not forgotten. We are loved. We are not forgotten. We are looked after. Allow Him to look after us. And we do this by surrendering our will to His will. Try and stop being the absolute actor in everything that goes on. Realize that all acts come from Him. All action comes from Him. Reality comes from Him. His will supersedes anything that we can think or imagine. And His decisions for us are always greater than our own. we shouldn't fight them. We should be able to go along with that which is provided for us. There's examples given of those who are provided things shouldn't be seeking things, and those who have to seek things shouldn't wait to be provided for. They should continue to seek, understand the nature of what is going on with our existence, and follow that way. Don't fight that way. Different people have different nasibs, different destinies within the world, different ways that Allah provides for them because of the different lessons that everyone needs to learn. And we shouldn't look at other people's journeys. We should begin to understand our own. If we're going to look at anybody, we should look at the prophets and the holy men and follow their examples and follow their way and surrender to their guidance. We need to understand that we need to be guided. And who is better to guide us than our Creator? He knows us better than we know ourselves, and He knows our needs better than we know our own needs. So may we be able to surrender to His guidance and to His will so that we can integrate into His reality, know truth, know our Lord, and truly understand who and what we are. May it be so for each and every one of us, and may we all come to know our Lord. Ameen, Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.